So, I discussed the original Silent Night Deadly Night films on my channel a long time ago, but I never delved into the rest of the film sequels, and how, well, strange they are. The first film told the story of Billy Chapman, a traumatized orphan turned killer Santa, while the second followed his brother Ricky, mostly through recycled footage and campy bloodthirsty antics. They spend their films looking for revenge against the strict nun that raised them. By comparison, this third film, Better Watch Out, goes in a completely different direction, trading the lurid slasher chaos for psychic experiments, and a surprisingly restrained tone. It's easily the strangest entry in the series, notable for its subdued pacing and bizarre creative choices, rather than the shock value that the first two became known for. But, is Silent Night Deadly Night 3 Better Watch Out worth a watch this winter? Let's find out. Without further ado, on with the review.
One selection box god. I'm the selection box god. All these other boys fraud. They just eat the one bar, but I eat them all. I'm the selection box god.
The film opens on a zoom-out shot of our protagonist, a spooky, King-style psychic girl named Laura Anderson, who also happens to be blind. She awakens in a white, sterile room, like a hospital ward, because she hears a strange voice call her name. The voice seems to be coming from an apparently comatose patient, who suddenly wakes up and attacks her. She runs in terror from this figure until she comes across Santa, and starts asking him for Christmas presents, until he tries to stab her. In another ridiculous wake-up scene, she wakes up in a real hospital being tested by this creepy doctor named Newbury, who secretly wants to use her psychic abilities to contact the comatose patient for some reason. During another test, Laura has a vision made up of reused footage from the original film, scenes which only Billy Chapman was depicted as being overtly aware of, as he was the focus of the original story. Bear that in mind for later. Newbury then gives a very explicitly creepy overview of how he'll retain Laura as a test subject with no effort.
Knowledge. She can't resist it. She wants to penetrate his mind, see what he sees.
Ew, talk about subtlety movie, yikes! Laura waits an absurd amount of time to be picked up by her brother Chris after the appointment, and when she goes to talk to the nurse, she finds she has been murdered, but this was only a nightmare. Why does Chris look like he's competing for the role of frontman in an 80s hair metal band? I guess this was the era. That night, a drunken, Santa-costumed man goes to visit patients on the ward and mocks the comatose man. Not cool, dude. However, this triggers the man to wake up, and it's implied that the Santa is murdered in a cutaway. That's because the comatose man is actually an older Ricky Caldwell from the first Silent Night Deadly Night sequel. Fun fact, this iteration of Ricky Caldwell is played by Bill Moseley, who I know best as Chop Top in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Laura talks to her therapist the next day about her dreams and psychic visions, and here we go, sad backstory everyone. Laura and Chris's parents died in a plane crash off-screen, which was what awakened her psychic powers. The psychiatrist believes her about this, but chalks it up to her being angry at the world about her circumstances, before revealing himself to actually be Ricky in a vision, and he kills the receptionist, just as Laura had predicted. Chris introduces Laura to his new girlfriend Jerry, which doesn't exactly go very well.
Chris tells me you're psychic. Chris tells me you give great head.
Jesus, Laura.
We also see an unstable Ricky hobbling around, following the trio and hitchhiking, while Laura dreams of reused footage from the original film again on the way to visit her grandmother for Christmas. No use of footage from the second film so far? I wonder why. Oh yeah, this driver is dead, by the way. A service worker called Greg watches the film The Terror until Ricky rocks up. You can see where this is going. Andre Duvalier in The Terror was actually one of Jack Nicholson's early breakout roles. It's also not the only old-school film featured within this one. We see Granny Anderson preparing some Christmas dinner, and she asks Chris to buy some butter at a nearby service station for her. Uh-oh. So this decapitated head is all that's left of Greg, and Ricky shows up on Granny's doorstep. It just gets worse and worse. Next, Newbury explains his use of coma patients such as Ricky in experiments testing for psychic abilities.
His brain was surgically reconstructed. We brought back some of his basic motor functions so that his heart, lungs could keep working.
I highly question the ethics of this, to be honest. Nevertheless, it established a vampire victim-like psychic link between Ricky and Laura. On that note, poor unsuspecting Granny offers Ricky a gift from Santa off-screen, and we all know where that leads us in these movies. Our trio of heroes arrive, with no Granny there, but Chris assumes she went out as he forgot to bring the butter, and leaves to show Jerry a tour of the house. During their absence, Laura has a spooky vision of her Granny. We get an obligatory bathroom scene when Jerry goes to take a bath, and she grows suspicious of something outside before inviting Chris in and complaining about Laura. They go stargazing afterwards and knock on the neighbours' doors looking for Granny, but later notice that Chris's car is found upside down in an orange grove, and Laura realises that Ricky is outside. While Laura tries to warn the other members of her party, Ricky begins to break into the house. For real, I guess? Why didn't he just wait, inside? Thankfully, the police are on their way, and Newbury explains his increasingly bizarre theory to the lieutenant.
Ricky isn't a killer. He's a way to stop people from killing. Like snake venom is a way to cure the bite.
He also steals the cop's car. What a douche! After going inside and outside a bunch, the supposed hero trio goes outside again, where they're attacked by Ricky. There's a struggle where Ricky actually manages to overpower and stab Chris. He also repeats this move on Newbury when he shows up a second too late. Jerry and Laura hide in the house, and separate to distract Ricky, which of course leads to Jerry's death right after she and Laura made up. What's with this guy stabbing people? The original Billy and Ricky were known for being literal axe murderers who got creative at points. Was the umbrella move the inspiration? After some cat and mouse games between Ricky and Laura, Granny drops in, delivering some words of wisdom about how to truly harness her psychic powers, which culminates in Chris actually being alive and trying to shoot Ricky to death, and this somehow not working. Laura does manage to impale Ricky on a broken piece of wood, and this does work. He really is a vampire. We then get this nice little send-off.
Merry Christmas.
And a happy new year.
So, what did I think of Silent Night Deadly Night 3 overall? I thought it made for an entertaining watch, and it was an interesting, if not unusual, direction to take the franchise. I found the theme of self-preservation to be a very interesting motif in the film. I know that seems like kind of a duh moment since this is a slasher sequel, but I feel like it manifested in more than one way. I interpreted Laura's tendency to withhold or struggle with her psychic powers as a reflection of the broader slasher trope of characters fighting for survival, sometimes through denial or delay rather than action. This also serves as a harsh contrast to the externality of Ricky's violence. This was also one of those weird slashers made during the exit of the 80s slasher era and the entrance of the more psychological or pseudo-sci-fi horror of the 90s. Horror on film was moving from visceral terror to more concept-driven weirdness, and although it's not as in-your-face as its sequel for obvious reasons, the style of the film reminds me of later works like The Dentist in a way that the previous two installments just didn't. Additionally, this film bears almost no stylistic or thematic resemblance to the original Silent Night Deadly Night. Where Part 2 was infamous for reusing old footage to a fault, Part 3 overcorrects this by creating something technically new, but disconnected through its introduction of psychics and beginning in a weird hospital setting. It seems like a plot better suited to the Elm Street franchise, and what was up with that freaky glass skull cap? At the end of the day though, I'm a big horror fan, and one thing I've noticed is that horror franchises often struggle to sustain a consistent identity across sequels, with the Silent Night Deadly Night franchise being a prime case study. The films get weirder and completely disconnect from the original story as they go along, before devolving into reboots, one of which was released this year. In the end, Silent Night Deadly Night 3 feels like the franchise's teething phase. It's messy, slow in places, and just really weird, but there's something that I like about it. It's a testament to how far a horror series will stretch to keep things fresh, even if that means giving the killer a fishbowl for a head. Well, that's all for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year!
I'm the selection box god. All these other boys fraud. They just eat the one bar, but I eat them all. I'm the selection box god. All these other boys fraud. They just eat the one bar, but I eat them all. I'm the selection box god. All these other boys fraud.